is the letter I've owed you so long. I just got back from a little excursion to a place called Königssee in the Bavarian Alps. They used to call it a rest center. Now they call it a recreation center. When it comes to places to relax, this is it. I probably don't have to tell you, the whole thing was on good old Uncle Samuel. One of the extras they throw in, I guess, for us guys in the ETO. We blew in, and I gave the place the old once-over. And I want to tell you, it seemed to have just about everything. And we hadn't even begun to dig in. You should have heard the GI desk clerk when we went to sign in. Just like paying guests.
Good afternoon, men. Most everything has been explained to you by the bulletin board outside or other signs we have up around the rest center. But there are a few things I'd like to have you know before you register. The first thing, we have a wake-up system here. If any of you men desire to get up at a particular hour, just leave your name at the desk, and the page boy will take care of you in the morning. The next thing is the registration. You each sign the register, that'll be individually. After you sign, the corporal on my right will issue a Coca-Cola ticket, a dance ticket, a package of cigarettes, and a booklet explaining the Königssee Rest Center.
So we registered, like at the Ritz, and they showed us to our room. Don't ever feel sorry for me, kid. Hot and cold running water you've got at home, but how about valet service? The beds reminded me of the kind Mother used to make, and we didn't have to make them either. They had chambermaids for that. So I really went to town. Shower, complete with my own whole cake of soap, a shine on the brogans, and a shave and a haircut. The work. Then came chow call. And darn if we didn't even get piano music with our meals. Not good, but music. In fact, I heard our professor used to be considered good in the old Germany. You'd go for the food there, Bob. Almost anybody would, I think. Bavarians are famous for good food, good beer, and good music. And you can check and double-check the first two. The service was on the snappy side, too. In fact, I would have left a good-sized tip if I'd been chump enough to be there as a civilian. The next day, we went sightseeing in Berchtesgaden, the nearest town, and that was really something. The stuff I saw was strictly out of guidebooks. I just took it easy and strolled around the town and took in whatever sights came along. Every once in a while, I saw a gang made up like something out of a musical comedy, just hanging around as though they were waiting for Nelson Eddy to come out and throw them a cue. I kind of went for the shorts they wear, too. Looked nice and comfortable. I understand they're made of chamois skin, and if you know your stuff, you can tell where a guy comes from by the way his pants are stitched. I saw a lot of other interesting stuff, too. Trucks that ran on charcoal, for example, and shopping bags that ran on bicycles. Can you imagine Mom when I rigged one up for her? I got to see scenery, too. Mount Watzmann, no less, the second highest mountain in Germany. It was my first Alp, but I hope it won't be my last. Boy, you wouldn't believe all the things you could do in that joint. When I ran out of ideas, I looked over the bulletin board, and they'd thought of everything. There was fishing, for them as likes it. I suppose Hank Crosby would have gone for that. Horses, which, as you know, I can take or leave alone. Pitching horseshoes, All sorts of outdoor He-Man stuff, which definitely ain't for me when I'm on vacation. It was a wonderful feeling, none of it being compulsory, but that athletic stuff was strictly for somebody else, not me. All of a sudden, we saw something that was right down our alley, a trip up the lake. And we were just in time to make it. I wasn't too late to grab the best seat on the boat, though, next to a cute bit of fluff from the Red Cross. By the way, Königssee means King's Lake. Or did you take German? I forget. Anyway, it's some lake, 800 feet deep in spots, and every place you looked along the shore was a picture. I wish you could have seen that Red Cross gal. She was definitely your type. Mine, too, for that matter. And I got along swell with her. We had a tough time trying to keep up with all the sights. In one place, there was a sort of cross, and the captain explained it was to commemorate the death of 60 pilgrims who were drowned there in 1688. Then we hit Echo Point, which is supposed to have the best echo in the world. And the skipper heaved to and did his stuff for us with a bugle. Darned if I didn't like the echo better than the original. Riding that electric launch was like going piggyback on a swan. And for picture postcard settings, I wish you could have seen Bartholomä, a little community we passed. It looked like a toy village, only too good to be true. I saw a pip of a waterfall, too. Famous, I understand, but I forget the name of it. Then there were fishermen hauling their nets in their boats. I was sure getting an eyeful when disaster set in. I was giving Miss Red Cross a light when she flashed a wedding ring under my nose, and you know how allergic I am to that kind of stuff, so naturally I was a little upset and off the beam. Then on top of that, darn if she didn't up and point out that her husband was a major in the paratroops, no less. Which was my cue to sign off, but fast. Oh, well, everything happens to me. Later, we stopped off for a look around. So I got in some hiking around the countryside in spite of myself. And darn nice country it was, too. The only thing was that my dogs were barking a little. After a while, we came to a little cabin and bought some postcards, which you'll be seeing one of these days. Then we dropped into a little church built way back in the 11th century and later dedicated to those pilgrims who were drowned in the lake. And there was a peasant woman at the altar, and I got a kick out of realizing people like her had been worshiping there for 900 years. I ran into something else interesting, something that would have handed you a laugh, Bob. A herd of ex-Nazi cows all duked up with flowers on their heads. I thought I was seeing things at first, but finally I got the lowdown. It seems it's not unusual for these animated milk dispensers to wander off somewhere or even fall off a cliff. So if a herd is still intact in the fall, the owner celebrates by decking his cows out with flowers. At night, they put on a show for us, which got off to a bad start so far as I was concerned. The gal I met on the boat came in with another guy, and my buddy couldn't help calling my attention to it. Oh, well, you can't have everything, I always say. Never be held over at the Rialto, but we all got a terrific kick out of seeing it over here. The numbers was in 3 languages, I think. French, German, and English. At least part of it sounded like, how do you do?
Yes, my boy.
Oh, oui, madame, vite avec plaisir.
Okay, my darling. Please, my boy, give me help.
Merci, madame, deine Hände sind süß.
Okay, my sweetheart, I love you.
I said, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a corner. Upper the big stop in the on the music spiel.
And that was the end of another perfect day. The next morning, we took off for Hitler's hideout, a short distance away, in a place called Obersalzberg.
Hey, Sarge, what is this, something the engineers put up?
No, this is the diagram that the Germans left. It's known as Obersalzberg, or Hitler's mountain retreat. This is the Barghof Hotel where you are now. These are the German SS barracks. Hitler kept 2 of his best companies of SS troops here at all times. He also had his private police force here. Here's the old boy's house itself. There's a huge window on the front of it, and you can get some excellent pictures there. In back of the house itself is a system of 23 miles of tunnels that connect all these different places. They have electricity down there. You can go down and wander around if you care to. It's like a small underground city. Is there anything else you fellas would like to know?
Yeah. Say, who's this foreman here?
Foreman was a Nazi party leader. He's still loose around here. Maybe you fellas can round him up. Thanks, sir. Thanks.
Boy, was that joint a wreck. I don't ever remember getting such a kick out of seeing ruins. But if any place ever asked for trouble, this one did. And it sure did my heart good to see what we did to it. You ought to see the autograph collection on the wall there. It looks as though most of the guys in the ETO have been up there already. Some war correspondent was painting a picture the day we were there, and he told us he was going to write a book about the place. Well, it's something to write about, all right. That view out of Hitler's window really does things to you. It's one of those things you have to see to believe. By the way, on the trip back, we stopped at a native woodcarver's hut. Wood carving is one of those things Bavarians are famous for, you know. And one thing caught my eye particularly. A beautiful Madonna with some of the finest workmanship I'd ever seen. So I bought it and sent it home to Ethel. Here's hoping she gets it okay. The old boy who made it was a genius for my dough. And speaking of dough, I coughed up quite a bit for that Madonna. The next day was Sunday, and dawn had barely cracked when I thought I heard singing. I staggered out onto the balcony outside my window, and darned if I didn't. It turned out to be the girls who worked around the place on their way to church. It sure was a swell view from that balcony. Kind of spoiled me for anything less than a penthouse. And that singing seemed to be, well, it seemed to be part of it all. I sure didn't feel like tearing myself away, but it was my last day there, and I had to do just that. I can still hear that singing, though. I don't think I'll ever forget that trip if I live to be a colonel. And when we hit a sign saying, "You had it, brother," I kept thinking to myself, you can sure say that again. The only thing that could have made it better would have been to have you along. That's all for now, Bob. Write soon, and give my regards to all the gang.